we will get on with it. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sipurey Maasios from Mechiga, from Cripple. I believe this is the fifth shir. So far, we said that they went. The Chiga took himself secretary, Naaman Balagola. He went on the way. He decided he's getting into Avodas Hashem. They got into a place, into a krechma, and they asked him to stay there. That and he wouldn't listen to them. And he went on. It's very important to understand that we are really used to the times when things don't go well. You know, that things are more difficult. And it's usually very romantic to speak about those times. You know, saying, like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And, all the chizik that you need a lot of chizik. You constantly need a lot of chizik because these times are more common than the times when a person is in a state of what they call the Hebrew instead of orot, that like, wow, this is like, forget about it. This is amazing. This is like, you're walking on air. You're floating. The Nikuda is that we need to know, as the Rebbe says in Terevov, that there is a learning for that as well. You need to know how to conduct yourself when you're really into something. When you're really like gung-ho and you're burning and you're really into it. Rabbeinu says in Torah Tes that a person needs to acquire the ability to discern when the time calls for tzimtzum, for constriction. Not to follow your heart's desire and go tearing the heavens, but actually stick with what you got and do it l'maisa. It's very common, especially in the beginning of when you're getting into Avodas Hashem, that in the beginning, the Yetzer Hara is trying to make sure that you don't start the journey altogether. But when he sees that he cannot stop you, so what he does is says, you don't stop. Okay, so go. Start, wake up chatzois, or whatever. In other words, do all kinds of things that there is really no chance for you to sustain them. And usually the Eitzah is do things that are very lemaisadik. Do things that you can do things that you can sustain. By the way, as parenthetically, as they say, במאמר מוסגר, This is what a wife is very good for, because when a person gets into something in Avodas Hashem, and he gets this burning desire, to open up the afterburner and really fly, let it rip. His wife usually comes up and says, look, you're becoming all crazy, and you're becoming all Haredi on me, and you become a fanatic, and whatever it is that the Lashon is. What you have to understand is that what you need to do at that point in time is not to fight. Is not to fight back, but to stick to your guns, to whatever it is that you do, always keeping a very friendly, open demeanor, but you're very decisive. That's what I believe I need to do, and this is what you do. What you need to understand is as lo tov v'yos ha'odom levadoi eselo ezer kenegdoi. It's not good for a person to be all his own. I'll give him a woman who will be an ezer kenegdoi. So they said, what is ezer kenegdoi? Aid against him. So which is it? Is it ezer or is it kenegdoi? So of course we all know the drasha of Chazal is that, zacha, it's ezer. Lo zacha is kenegdoi. And this is the truth. But what are we talking about? What is she doing lemaisa? In actuality, what is she doing? You would think that if he's Zeicha, so she said, yeah, go ahead and do it, and wake up Chatzos and fast, or do whatever it is, whatever those things, these burning things, these lofty things that you want. And if it's connected, she's come to you and say, listen, you're being too from, you're being a fanatic, or whatever it is. That's not the case at all. The thing is that as a connectoi means that the your wife will put up a fight, and the aim, the goal of that resistance from her is to ascertain that you really mean it. This is what it's about. Men have this tendency of flying way beyond their pay grade. That's fine, no problem. Other Isha is called a teres bala. She's the one. Teres is oteret, is surrounding, means she's constricting. She is putting her husband's feet on the ground. In other words, she is going to put up a resistance to whatever it is that you want. And the role of this resistance, unbeknownst to her, at least cognitively, is to put you in a reality check. Is this a realistic thing? Are you really, resolute and focused and committed to this? Or is this just a phase? If this is just a phase, let me tell you something, buddy, I'm not interested. I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. This is not. Lo manien. Sometimes you want this, sometimes you want that. I'm not interested in this. But if you really mean it, if you take her challenge, as it were, as something that Kadosh Baruch Hu has sent you in order to strengthen you on your road, that which is not realistic will fall off. You'll throw it away. You won't fight over it. That which you really don't mean. In other words, you want your wife, I don't know, to shave her head onto her shadel, whatever it is. That's the way you want it, because, like, I'm being really, really frum, or whatever it is that you want. And you yourself don't hold of it. Guess what? She ain't going to do it. And whatever it is that you're going to fight with her is not going to work either. Why? Because you yourself don't hold of it. But if you actually hold that this is what's necessary, and this is what you hold, and you're resolute about that, Simsof, she will join. The minute that your wife realizes that you are serious and you really mean it, she'll be with you. And from being connected, she'll be le'ezer, she'll help you out. Suddenly, at a certain point in time, you'll think that she flipped. She was against it for all that long, and now suddenly she's all for it. What happened? What happened is that your wife, knowing you better than you know yourself, knowing you better than anybody in the world, has that sense to realize that you really mean it. So if you really mean it, she'll be with you. If you don't mean it, or if it's not realistic, you'll have a fight in your hand. It's a very, very important thing to realize. Your wife's resistance is a sign that either you yourself are not ready, you just want everybody, to fall in line, but you yourself are not convinced of it either, or it's just a pipe dream. Either way, she shoot it down. And what's going to happen? Whatever it is that you have focused and you said this is whatever it is that you are for real, that will stay. That will stay, and this she will go with. Okay, so as we said, they went in the forest, and the forest is the place where is the place of the dinim, the gvuros, the klipos. This is where prey animals are roaming around. This is where thieves, robbers are roaming around. And the word ya'ar, as Rabbeinu uses, which is gematria pei resh dinim. It's 280 verdicts. And we spoke about the forest in the Maisa of Ben HaMelech and Ben HaShifcha. Now Rabbeinu talks about what is this inyan of how these robbers became robbers. We're learning here a little bit about the strategy and tactics of the Yetzer Hara. So he's saying as follows. V'nasu misham, they left the Kretschmer, and they got lost in the forest. V'naflu aleim gazlonim, and robbers fell on them. When a person gets into Avodas Hashem, which is beyond his madriga, usually what happens is that he gets lost in a forest of dinim and gvuras when the klipas are. And when it says Vaisan Gazlonim, these robbers, how did they become robbers? Once there was a hunger, and one came to town, and he announced, anybody who wants parnasa will come to him, and a few people came to him. Because this is what the Yetzer Hara do. The job of Yetzer Hara is to get you to follow him. So once he gives a hunger, in other words, he puts a famine, and a person feels a great distress from the fact that I have no parnasa. And this distress is confusing. And it takes from a person his Yishuv Adas. Because we said, it's not easy. It's not easy to go through time of lack and distress. But during the time of hunger, you go through whatever it is you go through. But at the end, the hunger goes away. But once the hunger goes away, comes the question, okay, but what am I going to do? What if the famine goes away? What am I going to do if famine is going to come back again? How are you going to sustain your family? What will you do? Will you be hungry again? How will you, give parnasa to your family? And this kind of confusion is stealing from the person his das and his chokhmah. And a person is, and not only this, what happens is that he pushes a person into advice of Rishayim. And the advice of Rishayim is, listen, you can be a good guy. You can be decent. You won't be able to make it. Come on. You got to steal. To some, so you got to steal. To some, so you got to, you got to help a Kadosh Baruch Hu out a little bit. Kadosh Baruch Hu by himself cannot do it all on his own. So he needs you, to come in and help him out. But take something which is not yours, or even a little bit more subtle, the price is this much. And the other person makes a mistake and he thinks that the price is twice as much. And he gives you. If you just keep your mouth shut, you can take the money and nobody will be the wiser, as it were. Which, of course, is a folly. What do you mean nobody will be the wiser? Because Baruch Hu will be the wiser and you'll be the wiser. And whatever you take over here is going to be taken you from over there. That's nonsense. But the point is that this Indian of doiver emes bilvavoi, for a person to be honest within himself, especially when parnasa is tight, is the big nisayon of the Yetzer Hara. Is of course the nisayon of the Yetzer Hara for people who have a lot of money, but that's a different nisayon. Mostly, this is not our Nisayan. Baruch Hashem. It's a very difficult Nisayan. But the Nisayan is, once you get into it, you're saying, listen, I'm just a regular guy. I have a bank account, and all I want to do is just want to live a regular life. And I'm not looking for anything. So you have a band of robbers in the banks that they're like drug dealers outside the fence of an elementary school. They want to peddle loans. And they say, we have a special deal. You can get a loan at a very, very, very good rate. Something really special. Now, if you'll notice, in the banks, they'll give you loans if you have money. If you don't have money, they won't give you loans. If you don't need the loans, they'll convince you to take the loans. And the thing is that once you get into this plateau of, yo, man, I'm making a living. I have 10,000 shekels, 15,000 shekels. I don't know. And my wife is making, 8,000 shekels, 5,000 shekels, 10,000 shekels, whatever she's doing. And, we're doing fine. All right. So next thing, let's buy an apartment. Okay. All right. Namalo. Person needs a place to live. Apartment is a good investment. But then you get comfortable. You get comfortable living in a certain level of living, and you're making, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 shekels, 18,000 shekels a month, whatever it is that you're making. And all right, so we need to redo the kitchen, of course. And then, I can't go with this shaitel. I'm a laughing stock to all my friends. I absolutely have to buy this new shaitel that costs, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. And this old sofa, we absolutely have to change it because I'm embarrassed, to invite my girlfriends to come over, and, we have to get rid of this china, and we have to do this, and we have to do that. And what happens is, before you know it, you're in a minus in the bank, and they call it from the bank and say, listen, you can't do this. This is not, okay, so what am I going to do? So how about we give you another 50,000 shekels, a loan of 50,000 shekels, and you'll be able to. And they give you a credit card, and you take the credit card, and with the credit card, you can get anything. And it's totally painless. It's just a swipe of plastic, crying out loud, and you get whatever you want. And you get into the game, and it all comes from the fact that you said, before you used to be in a situation that you couldn't make ends meet. And you tasted the bitterness of not having. And once you have, the fear of not having again is practically making sure that you'll never have again. Whoa. Say it again. The fear that maybe I won't have again is almost assuring that you will not have. How does that work? Well, the thing is that you think that, something, I'm going to give up on Avodas Hashem. I'm going to give up on all these big chalemas. Let me be successful here in this world. You know how it is. We'll live well. You know, we'll buy this new um, yogurt from Müller or from Danone that have, pieces of pinook, of indulgement. Indulge yourself. Indulge yourself. This indulgement is the result of despair from Avodas Hashem. The Yetzer Hara gives you a little famine, and instead of learning how to actually control it and live with it and sustain yourself with it, one of the things that you need to know and understand that when we say about the woman being as a kenegdai, it works there as well. If you get complacent, if you get to feel like, wow, I like this cushy living, I like this easy living thing, why shouldn't I spoil myself a little bit? What's going to happen? Your wife is going to pick it up as well, and she'll push you to this direction. And soon enough, you will find that it's easier to appease the pressure from her part than to actually stick to your guns. And before long, you're going to lose what you have. And the robbers will come and strip you from what you have. The thing is that it has to do with staying, as we said before, staying in the kretschmer. The thing is that one of the hardest things to do while we're passing through life in this world is to understand how much you need to press the gas pedal and how much you need to press the brakes. You have to understand that if you have no parnasa, unless you are really, really, really into shlom, into avodas Hashem, 100%, and you're willing to take whatever it takes, you're going to have no shlom bayis, you're going to have no avodas Hashem. There's a story from Reb Shmuel Shapiro, Zechatzal V'Kolos Livrocha. He was the best students of Shiva Chaim in Yerushalayim. Was one of the greatest Breslovers of his generation. Incredible Oved Hashem. His children used to say that they literally lived on crumbs. Live on crumbs. How did they sustain themselves? He went through a very difficult time with his wife. It was it's a story. I think it's a good opportunity to say this particular story because it's Maasios of Tzaddikim. When Reb Shmuel Shapiro, before he got married, he was the crown jewel of the shidduchim scene in Yerushalayim. He was where it's at. And everybody wanted him for a chassan. And then they made a shidduch with a girl from an important family who happened to have been very, very homely. In other words, she didn't look that good, or rather, she looked not good. Yeah. Now, she may not have been good looking, but she was far from foolish. So when they met her, when he met her, and he said that he's Muslim, he spoke to her, he realized that, the head was in the right place. So he decided, yeah, okay, he's going to marry her. Now she wasn't anybody's fool, so she said, why do you marry me? Why would you want to marry me? I mean, all the people in Islam would like to, have their daughters marry you. I'm not a good looking girl. She wasn't very healthy either. And he said that the fact that she looks well, she doesn't look well, he said he doesn't care about that. He says he doesn't intend to look at her after the marriage, he says anyhow. So, so she said she doesn't want to marry him. So, because he's crazy. What do you mean he doesn't want to look at me? But the point is that, so she married him. Her family pressured her to marry him because they said, no, you're going to say no to the best shidduch in Yerushalayim? Whatever, who's going to take you? Bekitzo, she married him, and she put him, and he did not look at her. Did not look at her doesn't mean he ignored her. No. He was the best husband possible. He helped her. He was considerate. He helped with the children. He did everything. Only what? He didn't look. Shmuel Shapir did not look outside his daladamas. That's it. He only looked at whatever it is that he needed to look. But that was just one thing. And his wife, she gave him the dickens. In fact, one time she took him to the Badatz. In Yerushalayim, she wanted a divorce. And the head of the Badatz at the time, we're talking about, I don't know, 100 years ago, whatever it is, the head of the Badatz took one look at him and realized what they were talking about. And he told her, just go home and stop making tzaras, just be quiet and be a good woman. Just get out of here. Where are you going to get another one like him? The kids are, but that was not the only thing that he did. He was learning in Koilel, obviously, he was learning in I don't know if it's Koilel Shomer Chomes or Koilel Galicia, whatever it is. And all the money he gave to her. He did not make any decisions. Here's the money. He realized that she's somebody who's responsible, whatever it is. He gave her the money, and that's it. He stayed out of it. He had another chavrusa who used to be in Oved Hashem together with him. The only difference between them that the other guy, kept his hand on the till. He kept his hand on the steering wheel. He wanted to make decisions what we're going to spend the money on and what not. So he did not last like Shmuel Shapiro lasted. The thing that Shmuel Shapiro did do, he took a little bit of the money that came in and put it aside. And years later, when he had enough money, he sent his wife for convalescence in a convalescence home outside of Yerushalayim. It was a week or whatever it is. He sent her, she'd have a little menucha. And people started coming from this convalescence home after they started coming to Meah Shearim, looking, who is this Shmuel Shapiro? So when they asked him, why are you looking for him? So she said, because there's a woman that came to this convalescence home that said that her husband is a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, she might have given him hell, but she knew exactly who he was. Because he was 100% closed and locked on what was his role in life. And he didn't let himself go too much to the right, too much to the left. You know, people go to the feld to make his Beidadus. In his younger years, he would go to the feld, but later on, he did not go to the feld, not because he didn't have the koyach, because his wife didn't feel well, and she was at home, and he wanted to stay with her. So what he would do is they had this one room, whatever it is. So he was put his arm on the wall, and he was making his Beidadus like that. That's it. That's how he's making his Beidadus. Tremendous Yeshiva Das. Tremendous Yeshiva Das. Not to this side, not to that side. Somebody who davened, who said the Kodesh Baruch Hu with all his koyach. Tremendous equilibrium. What is the main thing? What is not the main thing? They say about his Shmir Sanaim, the way he used to guard his eyes, that Moshe Lelevon, the Lelever Rebbe, I think he's the grandfather or grand-grandfather of the present Malach Biderman. I think he's his grandfather or grand-grandfather. He was by a chassan in Bnei Brak, and Rosh Shapira was there. And when the Rebbe left, when the Lelever Rebbe left, and he says, I want to go back again. I want to take another look at the eyes of Reb Shmuel Shapiro. I want to see his eyes again. Somebody who's shomer Naim like him, I want to see him again. Another time they had this big demonstration in Mea Shearim. You know, in Mea Shearim they have these posters on the wall. You know, the Satmar Rebbe, the Vayol Moshe Zechatzal Livrocha, used to say that the walls of Mea Shearim are very rickety, so they need to to glue the pashkevil on the walls in order to hold the walls, you know, from crumbling down. But other than that, the pashkevil didn't mean anything. But anyhow, that they called up for this demonstration against Zionists. And they said that nobody should stay away. Everybody must come. And the time of the demonstration, everybody went, and they all went one direction. Somebody saw Shmuel Shapiro walking the other direction. And he wasn't there, and people started talking. Maybe he's a Tzioini, maybe he has some false ideas, where they started talking about him. Until somebody actually had a very novel idea on such a situation, besides talking about him or denigrating him, was actually to come to ask him, why didn't you come to the demonstration? Well, it turns out that because he would not look outside his daladamas, he didn't look at the wall. He didn't see the poster. Didn't even know about the demonstration. This is one side. On the other hand, he used to go to the Koisel. That was before 1948, before the State of Israel. So he used to go to the Koisel every night. And I think he was even in Jordanian captivity at the time, you know, when 1948, when the war started. But he went to the Koisel every night, said Chatzos. And he shouted in davening and with the top of his lungs. Two mices that happened. One night, a scorpion, he used to stand in the same corner every night. And just taking Chatzos, a scorpion came and bit him and stung him. They had to carry him home. Next night, he's standing in the same place, the same corner. So some of the people that told him, well, you're not afraid to stay in the same corner? You got stung by a scorpion here. So he said, what, the scorpion weckt sich auf Chatzos jede Nacht, or the scorpion wakes up Chatzos every night. You know, so once there was a scorpion. You know, I said, equilibrium, Yishavadas. Yishavadas. Well, also Maisa that the Arab neighbors could not stand the fact that he was screaming there. So they took one of the hoodlums in the neighborhood to teach him a lesson. They say when he's coming, catch him and really, beat him up and show him what's for. And that Arab guy caught him and he shook him like, "What are you doing?" Whatever it is. So he started telling me in Yiddish, "There's no tachlis except in this world except to serve Kodesh Baruch Hu." He gave him a whole shmooze in Yiddish. The Arab said, "He's crazy. Go away. Leave me alone." The point is that one of the things, and the poverty in his house was unbelievable. But the point is that it did not sway him this way or that way. He did not try to buy his wife's good opinion by borrowing money or overspending or appeasing. You need to do what you need to do, and you need to not do what you need not to do. You won't always be right, but at the end, things will flow the way that they need to. So the first thing is that the robbers, the Yetzer Hara comes, there's a famine. We can't do it. The Nisaya at this particular point in time is you ask the Kodesh Baruch Hu and you wait. You ask the Kodesh Baruch Hu and you wait. You do what you need to do, whatever it is, ishtadlus that makes sense to you, and you wait. There's one thing that we need to understand. It's not the famine that brings us down. It's not difficulties that bring us down. I don't know how many of you have read articles about the 7 or 10 or 13 or 15 habits of successful people. Anybody ever read these articles? You can lift your hand. Yeah. Everybody saw these articles. 10 habits of successful men, 7 habits of the super rich and famous. I don't know, whatever the name is. Everybody saw these articles. Maybe they divide their day to 5-minute increments or whatever it is that they do. In fact, there is only one difference between somebody who is successful and somebody who is less successful. And that is how much you want it. That's it. The people who are tzaddikim are because they want it that badly. Kodesh Baruch Hu hooks them up with Rabbeinu, and they go for it. The people, Havdil, who are tycoons and billionaires, are that because they want it that much. That's it. The reason why the difference between a millionaire and a multimillionaire and a billionaire is because this one wants it this much, this one this much, and this one wants it this much. The reason someone is, why Moshe Rabbeinu was Moshe Rabbeinu, Avram Avinu was Avram Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu was Moshe Rabbeinu, Yaakov Avinu was Yaakov Avinu, why Rabbeinu HaKodesh was Rabbeinu HaKodesh, why I'm only who I am, is because they flamed up their heart to want as much as they did. And as much as they wanted it, this is what they became. Avram Avinu was Avram Avinu because he wanted a will, with a resoluteness and a focus and obligation of an Avram Avinu. So he became Avram Avinu. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be an Oved Hashem with a madrega that was commensurate with being Moshe Rabbeinu, so he became a Moshe Rabbeinu. Why I'm only who I am? Because that's all I want. My mind, I really would like it to be more. Very nice. But to myself, I don't want it to be more. Because if I wanted it to be more, it would have been more. So the main thing that we need to understand is the reason why I'm not the kind of tzaddik that I want to be is because I simply don't want to become that kind of tzaddik. Or rather, it's not that I don't want to, I just don't want enough. I want other things more than I want to be such a tzaddik as I would like to want. I don't mind being a tzaddik, don't get me wrong, it's as long as it comes with a Cadillac with an 1.5-inch thick steak, it's okay, no problem. It's when it comes with difficulties, when it comes with living on crumbs, and it comes with, my wife hacking me a chinik, you need to do this and do that. And I said, I'm sorry, I love you and everything, and I will listen to everything you're saying, but this is the name of the game, and this is what we're doing. I will not become any better. It comes the question, how do I become better? How do I get to want that which I would like to want? The answer is, I need to look into myself, maybe with the help of a good friend, and talk my heart out and find out what is the headline of what I want, how I'd like to live my life. Well, I'd like to live my life as a Shomer Shabbos Jew, comfortable financially, free of pain and ill health, and whatever, this is what I really want. And what would I really would like to want? Without knowing what it is that you want, you cannot even ask for that which you would like to want, because you need to know where you really are in order to understand where you really need to be. Now, it's okay if you find yourself in a situation and say, listen, I'm not really into Avodas Hashem. Basically, I am, but I really am not there. As long as you realize that you need to come to Kodesh Baruch Hu and ask him, help me want one step further, one step closer to Avodas Hashem, to want it one step more, 1 ounce more, 1 kilogram more, one whatever, calories more. I don't know how you measure, willpower. But you have to ask for Ratzon. The avodah is to ask for Ratzon, because the minute you get Ratzon, the minute you get want, willpower, everything else will fall into place. Everything will fall into place. And that's perhaps the secret of what it says in Ashrei, where it says, Einei chol alecha yisaberu, the eyes of all people, of everybody, animals and just people, are looking up to you expectantly, and you give them their sustenance, everything in its own good time. And then it says, what it says, you're opening your hands. What are you giving everybody? Ratzon. You're giving willpower. We need to ask for willpower. Willpower to get close to Rabbeinu. Willpower to become Elchid in the way that we can be, as long as we are in this world. We can spend the time running away from what we need. We can spend the time with make-believe or whatever it is. Be aware of that. Be aware of that. Don't give up. That's what the Yetzirah wants you to do. Listen, it's not for me. Come on, let's be realistic. No. Don't be realistic. Don't be realistic. Be idealistic to the nth degree. I want to want. If maybe I don't want, okay, but I want to want. I want to want. Do I really want to want? Okay, so I want to want. Please help me want until I'll be able to want. And when I'll want, everything will fall into place immediately. Okay. Up to here is, I believe, shir number 5 of Ma'aseh Mechiga. Thank you, everybody, for being here and coming to the shir.